In the annals of biblical stories, few are as bizarre and compelling as that of Balaam, the non-Israelite prophet whose encounter with a talking donkey and a divine messenger sets the stage for a series of oracles that defy the very intentions of the king who summoned him. This story, found in the book of Numbers, is not just a tale of divine intervention, but a profound exploration of faith, prophecy, and the sovereignty of God. The narrative is so rich and layered that it continues to captivate and challenge readers millennia after it was first recorded. The story begins with Balak, the king of Moab, deeply troubled by the presence of the Israelites, who are encamped on the borders of his kingdom. Fearing their vast numbers and potential power, Balak decides to take drastic measures. He sends messengers to Balaam, a renowned seer, with a request to curse the Israelites. Balak's plan is straightforward but rooted in a world where gods and their representatives can be bribed or manipulated to one's advantage. He is willing to offer Balaam great wealth and status in exchange for a curse that could weaken or destroy the Israelites. Balaam, however, is not a typical seer. Despite his reputation and the allure of Balak's offer, Balaam is a man who, at least in this story, is deeply attuned to the will of the God of Israel. When the messengers first arrive, Balaam tells them that he cannot do anything without the permission of God. He sends them away, only to receive a visit from God himself, who instructs Balaam not to go with the men or curse the Israelites, for they are blessed. Balaam relays this message, and the messengers return to Balak with the news. Undeterred, Balak sends a more prestigious delegation with even greater promises of reward. Balaam, knowing that he must be cautious, again seeks God's guidance. This time, God allows Balaam to go with the men, but with a strict warning. He must only speak the words that God puts in his mouth. Balaam's journey to Moab is where the story takes a truly surreal turn. As he travels, God sends an angel to block his path. The donkey Balaam is riding sees the angel, who is armed with a sword, and swerves off the road, crushing Balaam's foot against a wall. Balaam, unaware of the angel's presence, beats the donkey. This happens 3 times, each time with the donkey seeing the angel and Balaam reacting in anger. In a moment of divine intervention, the donkey speaks, asking Balaam why he is beating her. Balaam, shocked, responds that she has humiliated him. The donkey then explains that she has seen the angel and was only trying to avoid it. At this point, God opens Balaam's eyes, and he too sees the angel. The angel then questions Balaam, asking why he has beaten the donkey. And Balaam, now realizing his folly, bows before the angel. The angel explains that he came to stand in Balaam's way because his journey was contrary to God's will. Balaam offers to turn back, but the angel tells him to continue, emphasizing again that he must only speak the words that God gives him. This bizarre and almost comical episode serves several purposes. First, it underscores the theme of divine sovereignty. Despite Balaam's initial willingness to go with the men, and despite Balak's earnest desires and offers of reward, the journey and its outcome are ultimately determined by God. Second, the episode highlights the folly of human arrogance, and the importance of recognizing divine authority. Balaam, a man of great reputation, is humbled by a donkey, a symbol of lowly status in the ancient world. This inversion of expectations serves to remind the reader that God's ways are not always what we expect, and that true wisdom lies in submission to his will. When Balaam finally arrives in Moab, Balak welcomes him with great fanfare. He takes Balaam to a high place called Bamoth-Baal, where Balaam is instructed to build 7 altars and offer sacrifices. Balaam, following the divine command, does as he is told. After the sacrifices, he goes off to receive further instructions from God. When he returns, instead of cursing the Israelites, Balaam blesses them. He speaks of their greatness, their separation from other nations, and their future triumphs. Balak naturally is furious. He had hoped for a curse, not a blessing, and accuses Balaam of betraying him. Balaam, however, remains steadfast. He explains that he can only speak the words that God puts in his mouth. Undeterred, Balak takes Balaam to another high place, hoping that a different vantage point might change the outcome. But again, Balaam blesses the Israelites. This time, his words are even more powerful, speaking of God's presence with Israel, their military prowess, and their invincibility. Balak, exasperated, demands that Balaam stop. But Balaam, true to his word, continues to speak the blessings that God has given him. The story reaches its climax when Balaam, on his own initiative, delivers a final oracle. This oracle is the most prophetic and far-reaching of all. It speaks of a future king who will rise from Israel and subdue many nations. This king, often interpreted as a messianic figure, represents the ultimate fulfillment of God's promises to the Israelites. Balaam's words are not just a blessing, but a vision of the future, a promise of hope and redemption. The story of Balaam and Balak is a powerful reminder of the sovereignty of God and the futility of human attempts to manipulate divine will. Balak's efforts to secure a curse are ultimately futile, because God's plans are not subject to human desires or schemes. Balaam, despite his initial willingness to comply with Balak's request, is ultimately obedient to God, recognizing that true prophecy and true power come from divine authority, not human ambition. In a world where people often seek to bend reality to their own desires, the story of Balaam and Balak serves as a cautionary tale. It reminds us that the true source of blessing and cursing, of victory and defeat, lies not in human hands but in the hands of God. The story challenges us to recognize the limits of our own power and to seek alignment with the divine will, rather than seeking to manipulate it for our own ends. In the end, the story of Balaam and Balak is not just a historical account, but a timeless lesson in faith, obedience, and the sovereignty of God. It invites us to reflect on our own lives and to consider whether we are seeking to align our will with God's, or whether we are trying to bend God's will to our own. The answer, as the story so vividly illustrates, is that true blessing and true victory come from a place of humble obedience and faith in the divine plan. In the end, the story of Balaam and Balak teaches us that God's will is sovereign, and that true prophecy and true power come from divine authority, not human ambition.